Welcome to Let's Talk Portsmouth, a new communications enterprise developed by the City of Portsmouth's Marketing and Communications Division. If you're interested in Portsmouth news and information, public concerns, and other relevant topics that could impact your life, Let's Talk Portsmouth is the podcast for you. We'll talk city business, including interviews with city administrators, hold discussions with civic and community organizations, and converse with newsmakers from around the state on topics close to home and heart. Now, here's your host, Sharon Hoggart.
Top of the morning to you. You're listening to Let's Talk Portsmouth, the podcast that's all about local government, community, and headline news. We endeavor to bring you solid information to help you make good decisions for your family and community. Thanks so much for listening. I'm your host, Sharon Hoggart from the city's Marketing and Communications Department. On today's episode, we're going to talk about a real important topic, conservation, taking care of Mother Earth. We're also going to take a trip to Paradise Creek Nature Park, located right here in the city of Portsmouth. But first, these messages. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Ann, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Joining us today on the podcast are Marjorie Jackson, Executive Director of the Elizabeth River Project, and Larry Lapel, also with the Elizabeth River Project. Welcome to you both. We like to start the show off with an icebreaker for our guests. We'll start with you, Miss Marjorie. How long have you been with the Elizabeth River Project? And tell us a little bit about your background, education, and professional experience.
Sure, and thanks so much for having us. We're excited to be on the line with you. I've been with the Elizabeth River Project since we were 4 volunteers around a kitchen table in 1991. And we had this kind of crazy idea of trying to clean up what people thought of as a dead river, the Elizabeth. So I became the first staff person in about 1993, and then now we have a staff of about 30. So it's been a long, exciting ride.
Wonderful, wonderful. Mr. Lapel, tell us a little bit about your work with the project and something about your background.
Thanks, Sharon. I retired from the Navy as a senior chief culinary specialist in 2014. I graduated from Old Dominion University in 2018 with my degree in park recreation and tourism management. That same year, I got hired as an intern at Paradise Creek Nature Park to help guide kayak programs and lead programming. This year, I was just promoted to the operations manager at the park. I run the Green Collar Jobs Training Program. Myself and Yalima Carr run a conservation landscaping class. We teach Portsmouth High School seniors conservation landscaping techniques. So they learn how to do landscaping that benefits the ecosystem, makes beautiful flower beds, and also keeps a healthy river.
Well, Larry, you and I have something in common. I'm also a Monarch, graduate of Old Dominion University. So glad to have you here, and so glad and proud of the work that you guys do with the Elizabeth River Project. So paint a picture of Paradise Creek Nature Park for our listeners and explain how the park is part of the restoration of the Elizabeth River.
I'll take that one. Paradise Creek Nature Park is a place to play, a place to get healthy physically and emotionally, a place where neighborhood kids can play in a safe and natural setting, a place where neighbors can explore an ecosystem they didn't know was in their backyard. We do a lot of outreach to the Craddock community, and that's our big goal, is to bring folks in to appreciate the river and to interact with the river and then care for the river.
And if people care for the river, they will take care of it. Is that the premise?
That's correct, yes. Once they have interaction with the river and they recreate on it, they fish, they kayak, they canoe, they're going to have a greater sense of ownership and take better care.
Marjorie, you want to weigh in?
Sure. So as far as what you would see, it's one of the last mature forests left on the Elizabeth River. So it has some big towering trees, and volunteers are actually helping us spotlight some of our biggest trees. And then it has 11 acres of restored wetlands. And you can launch a kayak and go on a kayak trail among the wetlands. It's one of the largest restored wetlands that you can visit with a public boat ramp in the state. And we also offer guided kayak trips. And then there's 2 miles of walking trails, and you'll see restoration of a native habitat ongoing underway with thousands of school children and volunteers every day, a new project.
I read somewhere that wetlands help during hurricanes. Did I read that correctly? Is that I threw that out there in case y'all?
Yes, ma'am. That is exactly right. They're one of nature's natural buffers. And when we fill them in and just have a bulkhead, a hard shore, the waves have nowhere to go. They just slap up against the structure, and the wetlands are a natural absorbing feature. And we're trying to bring those back in a lot of places around the river.
I think y'all may have already answered this. How big is Paradise Creek Park?
40 acres.
It's a 40-acre park.
40-acre park.
We're 40 acres total, with the 11-acre tidal wetland, which is the largest restored wetland in the area that's open for recreation like paddling and kayaking and canoeing.
Okay. Do y'all do any partnership, and this is not on your list either, but do y'all have any partnerships with the Dismal Swamp organizers or volunteers or any connection with them?
Not really.
Okay.
But go ahead, Larry.
We have volunteer groups from all over. We have Natural Naturalists. We have Autobahn groups. We have Master Gardeners. We have all groups from all over that we partner with. The Department of Conservation and Recreation, state agencies, federal agencies we partner with. So we're really open to partnerships, and that's kind of our Marjorie's business model, I think, is partnership. This is too big for one organization, so we partner together and we achieve great things.
Larry, when you were at ODU, was there a program still around called Dismal Swamp programs?
I believe some of the students went out there for their conservation ecology courses, and they did studies out there. They did remove invasive Phragmites, and they did counting animals, and they also do some of the controlled burns, I believe, down there. Okay.
I used to work for, as a student, work study student work for Dismal Swamp programs. It was a really fascinating project.
Cool.
This is for Marjorie, because you gave us a little bit of background before we started the show. How long has the Elizabeth River Project been around?
Well, it was started around that kitchen table in 91 and incorporated in 93. So we've been working hard a long time to clean up the river.
And the Elizabeth River was once considered one of the most polluted rivers on the Chesapeake Bay. So what has been the impact of the project on the river?
Sure. So when we got started, scientists would have contests over who could catch the most deformed fish, and then in stretches of the river, they would go out and try to trawl to look at the fish, and they couldn't even catch any. And so it was in sad shape. So everybody working together, businesses, governments, and we count the city of Portsmouth a great partner, along with the other cities on the river, school children, residents. We call them our Riverstar homes, Riverstar businesses, Riverstar schools. Everybody doing their part. We have really brought back the health of the river a great deal, so that now some of those places that had hardly any fish, they have 26 species. You mentioned the Dismal Swamp a minute ago. We have as many species of birds at Paradise Creek Nature Park as they do at the Dismal Swamp.
Wow.
On some bird count. So the Paradise Creek Nature Park, there's an eagle that visits regularly. I was sitting on my dock just a few weeks ago, and a river otter swam by. And so dolphins are regularly in all parts of the river. They wouldn't be there except the fish have come back.
Dang.
And the water is cleaner. So we're doing it together, and it's quite a turnaround story.
That's fascinating. Larry, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I think the biggest change I see is the wildlife coming back. The otters and the muskrat and the osprey and the eagle coming back with their food sources back. So the natural habitat has been restored. And everybody makes us very proud to be involved with this project.
The work that you do at Paradise Creek and the Elizabeth River Project, y'all are cleaning portions of the river. Does that impact the waterway that we see from City Hall? Or does it impact it at all? Will it eventually?
Sure, yes, ma'am. That's part of the Elizabeth River too.
Right.
So it's really the whole thing is an estuary of the bay. So it has all these fingers that go out.
Mm-hmm.
And at City Hall, you're seeing one of the main parts of the river, and the water is all connected, and the health of the river in that part and where we are at Paradise Creek Nature Park, it's all connected. So we're trying to improve the water quality in all parts and restore wildlife habitat. So really near you is BAE Shipyard, and they have, and Norfolk Naval Shipyard. Both of those companies have done amazing things to create, believe it or not, wildlife habitat. BAE has done a dozen projects to restore oysters and little pockets of forest and wetlands right at its dry dock. And Costa spent a good deal of money to improve pollution control so that less is getting in the river. Many of our businesses are doing that way. We have over 140 businesses, and that includes some government facilities that do right by the river.
Okay.
I'd like to say that the wetlands are very important in the cleaning of the river. Every time the tide comes in, the river comes up across the salt marshes, and all that sediment settles out into the marsh, and it's a big filter. In addition to being a big sponge, it's a big filter. It filters out a lot of the sediment and all the hundreds of thousands of oysters that have been put into the river, clean the river daily. Each oyster cleans 50 gallons of water a day. You multiply that by the tens of thousands of oysters that are put in by the Elizabeth River Project. It's a big filter. It's a biofilter that we're restoring.
Stay on the line with us. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear. Call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha, 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 ha.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
All righty. So thanks for hanging with us for the final segment of Let's Talk Portsmouth. We're discussing Portsmouth Paradise Creek Nature Park and the Elizabeth River Project. So, guys, explain how the Elizabeth River Project used the social impact model to bring about progress in reversing the condition of the river. We'll start with Marjorie first.
Sure. So when we first got started as an environmental organization in the early 1990s, the model that most environmental groups followed was pretty angry, pretty aggressive, pretty in your face, suing people, blaming them, fighting. And this particular urban river, it's a major port. It's got the world's largest Navy base and the world's largest coal exporting facilities and a bunch of important shipyards. And we just felt like that was not the model here. We needed to work together and positively and just enlist everybody to do their part in a positive, voluntary way. And that's been our model. We call it social impact, collective impact, where everybody works together and you achieve great results together. So we offer public recognition for businesses and homes that do right by the river. We call them stars, river stars, and have a big banquet each year for the businesses that document new results in reducing pollution or restoring wetlands and other habitat. And for homeowners, we started the blue flags that you see throughout the region saying, a cleaner river starts here. And people pledge to do 7 things at home, and they often go beyond that and do hands-on projects to restore wetlands and create native habitat in their yards. And we're really proud. We have over 6,000 River Star homes. And actually this Saturday we're recognizing a bunch of schools that have done hands-on projects too, is our Resilient Youth Project. So it takes a lot of people doing a lot of different projects to bring back the health of an urban river, and we feel like that's happening here in a big way.
Larry?
Well, one of my personal interests is health equity. Underserved neighborhoods generally have less green spaces than other neighborhoods in cities. So having this green space at Paradise Creek allows us to promote health in the community. People who are outdoors in an outdoor environment have better outcomes for cholesterol, blood pressure, overall cardiovascular results are better if you get outside and walk in the woods. Just get out a little bit, walk every day in the woods. Definite benefit, health benefit. So I think that's the big thing we bring to this area is the green space and the ability and the opportunity for recreation.
Okay. You guys had some major happenings at Paradise Creek Nature Park, and last week you had a groundbreaking ribbon cutting ceremony. Tell us about this new expansion.
Okay, the new Fred W. Beasley River Academy will allow our educators to provide world-class environmental programming to continue while we're expanding our youth conservation intern programming. Our youth conservation intern programming is a summer-long program. We just sort of outgrew the old building, so our old building is going to be dedicated entirely to the youth conservation programming, and the new building is going to give us opportunity to provide field trips for over 2,000 school kids.
Wow.
We're going to be able to expand our lecture series. Our urban lecture series is one of the most important things we're going to be talking about with the new expansion. We're going to bring subject matter experts in on subjects that are important to the community here.
Well, I want to thank the city of Portsmouth. Mayor Glover and City Manager Angel Jones were both there, and some other great city council people and officials. And it is a partnership with the city of Portsmouth, that huge nature park. And we couldn't operate that park without the city's partnership. And Mayor Glover officiated, so we're expanding the River Academy by 2,000 square feet. And we pretty much outgrew it when it opened originally in 2018. There's just been an outpouring of people wanting to attend our field trips and our family program, from little tiny kids coming on our birding classes to the teenagers that Larry was referencing, to families, workshops and kayaking trips. So we just needed more space. So Mrs. Jane Batten, area philanthropist, gave the lead gift, and then our Next Wave campaign helped pay for the expansion. But really, we couldn't be doing it without the partnership with the city of Portsmouth that operates the whole park in partnership with us.
Do y'all have a direct partnership or collaboration with the Portsmouth Public Schools as well?
We do. They come on a lot of field trips, and we're really proud of that. We're their field station. So high school kids, the ecology clubs, they come and do water quality testing and all sort of resilience experiments in the forest. And then the fifth graders, a lot of field trips to sort, not so much during COVID, but and then the pre-K kids, the entire pre-K schools that come out to the park that beg us each year that if they can please come. So, and then we've been going to the schools. Our education staff during COVID, when field trips have been less possible, have been visiting the schools and doing projects in their schoolyards. Larry might be able to tell you more about some of those.
Yes, we're doing a project with Craddock Elementary School where they have some problem areas in their schoolyard with ponding of water. And so we're going to go work with the students and put in a native rain garden.
Oh, that's cool.
I believe it's a fourth grade class. We're going to work with the students throughout the year, the rest of the year, getting a native pollinator rain garden put in. So it'll handle the water, deal with the water problem, and also attract beneficial insects, bees, and butterflies, moths, those types of things.
That's kind of cool. If people want to get interested in the Elizabeth River Project, where can they get more information?
ElizabethRiver.org. And our phone number is 757-399-7487. And we also, Larry and his colleagues are at Paradise Creek Nature Park. You can meet them on the trails a lot and at the River Academy most days, including Saturdays.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Norfolk, that's our education headquarters, is the River Academy.
Mm-hmm.
Other staff of Elizabeth River Project work a lot out of our interim field station in Norfolk at 5205 Colley Avenue. So you can also stop by. We'd love to have more members. Members make all of our work possible.
Let me ask you this too. What kind of things can homeowners do to help protect the river? Y'all mentioned that earlier, but can you give us some tips on what we can do to protect the water system, water table, and Elizabeth River?
Sure. So we'd love to have people join as Riverstar Homes. It's really easy and free online at elizabethriver.org. And we ask you to commit to different steps, but the most important for the health of the river include picking up after your dog skipping the poop,
Mm-hmm.
because that's a lot of pounds of bacteria-infested stuff that's going to wash into the river when it rains if you don't pick it up and throw it in the trash.
Very nicely said.
And then we ask people to just really consider whether they need all that fertilizer that people use on their lawns. Most people in America tend to over-fertilize your lawn, and then that also is going to wash into your storm drain, even if you're not on the river.
Mm-hmm.
And that storm drain near your house and your gutter is going to go directly, guess where? Elizabeth River.
Mm-hmm.
And the river doesn't need all those nutrients. That leads to algae bloom, and then that depletes the river of oxygen, and then you see dead fish. So those are two of the top things that you can do. Just watch your fertilizer, pick up after your dogs, and there are other great ways you can help us. Larry, come to the park and see the beauty of native plants and take part in some of our workshops on how you can restore habitat in your own backyard. Litter is a huge, huge problem that has gotten worse during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So avoid single-use plastics, and please don't just drop them on the road. That is going to wash down that storm drain and clog up the river.
Mm-hmm.
Wildlife in the river is going to mistake it for something to eat. And then, sea turtle, shorebird, they all have stomachs full of plastic these days. It's very alarming and sad.
Well, those are some good tips. I think I'm going to sign up today once this podcast is over. My husband and I can do that. Okay.
Good. Yay.
And to our listeners, you can do that too. It's a really simple thing to do to protect that river and that natural habitat. All right. So now, guys, we're getting ready to wrap up in a little bit. So tell our audience where Paradise Creek Nature Park is located and how they can plan a visit.
We would love for folks, if they're if they're living in Norfolk, let's say, or Virginia Beach, it's a great ride over the South Norfolk Jordan Bridge. You see a beautiful view. And then you take a left over the bridge down Victory Boulevard, and it's only about a mile, and you'll see the park. Entry right on your left. And you can also find directions and our latest programs at elizabethriver.org/Paradise Creek. And there's a lot of changing programs where you can come on a guided kayak trip. We provide the kayaks. Or you might want to go on a bird walk and see some of the many species of birds that visit our park. Because it has native plants, they can use as habitat and food.
Okay.
School programs, we'd love to hear from schools that would like to visit on a field trip.
Okay.
And Larry might have more to add. Larry?
So we've got our first kayaking trip of the year on May 21st, the guided kayaking trip. We've spent about an hour and a half out on the salt marsh talking about the ecosystem, talking about the birds, plants, and animals that are there. And then in June 25th is our blackberry foraging class, where we take people out around the park and forage our native blackberries. Come back to the class and I share some recipes how to prepare the blackberries.
That's cool. Okay. All right, guys, stay with us. We're going to take another short break, and then we're going to wrap up this interview. Stay with us.
I spent a lot of time in the garage, but even more time in the rain and mud. In '95, I helped tow your moving trailer. And in '09, it was sparks from me, your chains, dragging behind your truck that accidentally started a wildfire.
Spark a change, not a wildfire. Visit SmokeyBear.com, brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Thank you, Marjorie Jackson and Larry Lepel from the Elizabeth River Project for joining us on this issue of Let's Talk Portsmouth. Any final thoughts for our listening audience? This is your opportunity to wrap it up and leave some messages with our listeners that you want to leave behind.
I want to thank the city of Portsmouth for the partnership that allows us to present a 40-acre unusual nature park to the public at Paradise Creek Nature Park. And I want to thank our members who make all of our efforts possible. And if you're not yet a member, please join us at elizabethriver.org.
All right, elizabethriver.org. Larry?
I think that's pretty good. I mean,
all righty then.
Much to that.
Okay, that's another wrap for our podcast. Visit podbean.com for this episode and others. And listen and download Let's Talk Portsmouth wherever you listen to your podcasts. Here's your thought for the day from Aesop. Gratitude is the sign of noble souls. Let that marinate. We're out of here.
Thanks for listening to Let's Talk Portsmouth, the podcast that's about the city of Portsmouth and our connections around the globe. Listen and download our next episode for more news you can use and information that may just change your perspective. Find our podcast where you find quality podcasts, the Podbean app, Spotify, and Amazon Music Audible. Until next time, take care.